So at about 12:55 today, Minneapolis Police responded to this location at the grocery store for a 911 call on a report of a stabbing. At that time, officers encountered a 66-year-old male with what appeared to be a golf club impaled into his torso. The officers began life-saving measures as best they could. The victim was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. This investigation obviously is in its preliminary stages, and there was a 6-hour-long standoff here. So the information that I'm giving is preliminary, and it's as best as we understand what is an absolutely senseless and horrific scene. It appears that an individual came into this grocery store prior to the police arriving and came up to the counter with some items to purchase, and it appears then went behind the counter and then began to assault and bludgeon the individual behind the counter in a very grotesque way. Officers on scene, after the victim was transported to the hospital, were able to gain information that the suspect was in a building across the street here in an apartment. A 6-hour-long standoff then ensued after that. Our officers called in our crisis negotiators, our SWAT team responded, even our bomb unit came to the scene to use a robot. And thankfully, after 6 hours of negotiations and tactics, the suspect was safely taken into custody. So that's where we are with the suspect at this time. I do not know if these two individuals knew each other prior to this, but I would think we know the victim in this case was very well known to this community. We know this neighborhood is hurting tonight because of this absolutely horrific crime and just how senseless it was of an elder who's so well known, who has worked in this grocery store here for decades. I think it's reasonable to assume that being that the individual lived across the street, that they likely did know each other. But again, that's an assumption, and that's the best we know at this point. Again, our hearts go out to the family of this victim in this case. Obviously, a lot of times when we're dealing with violence, we're dealing with a lot of senseless, gun violence that happens in the community. Something like this is grotesque. It's horrific. And again, we know a lot of our residents in this neighborhood are suffering, and our hearts just